Hi everyone, it's LadyJenevia. I am back to review The Boys Season 2, Episode 6. This episode was fantastic. I felt a bit bad about my review last week since I didn't feel like I had as much to say about it, but this week, the episode was so eventful that it felt like I had watched 2 or 3 episodes instead of just one. If you have not watched my other videos on The Boys, I will link a card to a playlist of all of the videos that I have posted thus far on the series. So now let's get into the spoilers. The Maeve advert for the Brave Maeve Pride Bar was so cringy, but it was also a very smart critique of that thing that corporations do every year where they release all of these products for Pride Month to make it seem like they care about the LGBTQ community, but then it's crickets for the rest of the year. I feel that we're digging in deeper to her moral compass now, her willingness to potentially expose herself by sending that video from the plane incident to CNN if Homelander doesn't agree to back off is admirable. I feel bad that she's had her falling out with her girlfriend, but also that was bound to come out sooner or later. You can't keep secrets forever, not in the Boys universe. They always get out eventually. I was shocked that the Deep got A-Train manipulated into joining the church, but then I remembered what it's a satire of, and I stopped being surprised. At the rate they're going, I think the church is going to end up being a bigger villain in season 3 or perhaps even beyond that. I think the people running the Boys know that things are going so well for them that they more or less have the freedom to make as much of the show as they want to. I think they're mapping out their arcs for future seasons already and laying the groundwork for it even now in season 2. We can see that they've been doing that from the beginning, considering everything that happened with Frenchie's story in this episode, but I'm going to get back to that later on in this review. Next, Homelander and Stormfront, the worst couple ever. It really says something that we were all collectively so horrified by how disturbing Homelander's relationship with Madeline Stillwell was in season 1, but this new relationship he's got going on with Stormfront is so much worse. Hooking up after another round of police brutality? Ew. What did intrigue me, though, was the fact that Stormfront looked, I want to say, afraid when Homelander got angry at her for lying about where she was going. The conversation they had where she reveals her backstory and the fact that she had a daughter, all of that reads to me like it's there to give context to the audience about who she is and her motivations, but I personally don't feel like I really have a read on her. You could theorize that she was just feeling upset because she has feelings for Homelander and she doesn't want him to be upset at her, but I don't trust her. I'm going to stay perpetually suspicious of her motives. Switching over to the Annie, Butcher, and Hughie cluster, we have finally reached the point of Annie starting to integrate into the Boys as a group. We already know Hughie's in love with her, and Mother's Milk gets along with her. We've seen that because they had that nice heart-to-heart about their fathers. I think Frenchie is cool with her. He was nice enough to help get her tracker out, and you can tell he handled her with care. And Kimiko hugged her. That had to be one of the most heartwarming highlights of this entire episode, perhaps even the entire season. I am all for Kimiko having a friend that's a woman. Just because your show is called The Boys does not mean that you can't put a bit of effort in now and again to have women get to be friends with other women on the show. A lot of the most interesting material for Annie in this episode is about her finding common ground with Butcher. I enjoy these recurring parallels they have going on between different characters in this episode. When it comes to Annie and Butcher, they're very different from each other, particularly in the personal philosophies they've exhibited throughout the show and their capacity for empathy. Annie and Butcher also have a complicated history since he shot her. Of course, The damage was not that bad since her powers helped her with that injury, but still, it's only natural that she's going to hold a bit of a grudge. What this episode does really well is take you through this arc of them being at opposing points and then bringing them to a place of, I want to say, camaraderie. First, Annie tells Butcher he's a bigot and that he's similar to Homelander. If you will recall, I said in my video about the season 1 finale of The Boys that Butcher and Homelander are very much alike, and clearly I am not the only one who has noticed that. But what ultimately starts to bring Annie and Butcher together into learning how to be friends is Huey. Surprise, surprise, we're not surprised. We could have easily seen this one coming. It's the main thing that they have in common. They love him. Who doesn't love Huey? Butcher shot a soup because he threatened the safety of the group, and Annie did the same thing to a human that did what? Threaten the safety of the group. See, they're not so different. Also, Annie sharing how there was a point where she might have cried for that man who lost his life, but now she won't. That was excellent because you can see that she's becoming jaded from being in the Seven. She's immersed in a world of violence and corruption, and it's starting to get to her. It's fun though getting to see Annie teaming up with the boys, and I fully expect to see more of that in season 3. Her tracker is out, she's off the grid, and I really want to see her going full on covert and tactical. I am here for all of that. But now let's get into the meat of this episode, Frenchie, my sweet little golden girl. I love how The Boys has developed this propensity to reference iconic girl groups. First we had Butcher with the Spice Girls in season 1, and now Frenchie with the Golden Girls. And I don't think I'll ever forgive these people who are running this show for playing the Golden Girls theme song at the end when Homelander and Stormfront reaffirm their relationship. Betty White does not deserve that. This episode was something that I have been waiting for. Finally, a significant portion of the runtime is given to Frenchie. We learned so much about him, how he used to turn tricks in New York, but found solace in watching the Golden Girls, how he made friends, and then got coerced into working for Mallory in order to protect those friends from suffering the legal consequences from their criminal escapades. I never really thought about the idea of getting to know Lamplighter as a character, maybe in a flashback, but it wasn't anything I spent a significant amount of time pondering. So I was shocked when Shawn Ashmore showed up as Lamplighter in present day. It's exciting though because I did not see this coming. I had no idea that they were going to take this in the direction that they went. Once they revealed that Lamplighter is still around and going to be on the show, I figured that it would just be some sort of vengeance quest for Frenchie to close that chapter of his life. But no, they went left. This entire sequence of revelations and emotionally unpacking characters was exquisite. First of all, plot twist, Lamplighter did not even mean to kill Mallory's grandchildren. He thought that he was shooting Mallory because she forced him into working with her or for her with the boys. The boys pulled a Legally Blonde. I thought it was you walking through the door. Everything we thought we knew was a lie. That's the thing about the boys. They don't let characters get away with being hollow archetypes. Everyone has to have nuance. Even if you are a character that is secondary to the main leads, like Lamplighter, or you're just a guest character that pops up now and then, like Annie's mom. Speaking of guest characters, I fully expect that one of those new soups, Cindy, to be more specific, is going to come back with a much larger presence. I don't know which side she'll be on, but they just put way too much focus on her for that to not be building up to something bigger in the future of the show. Frenchie also finally patched things up with Mother's Milk. I was not expecting them to work through their issues that quickly, but once Mother's Milk got the full context of the fact that Frenchie has been self-flagellating for all these years, emotionally and psychologically speaking, Of course, Mother's Milk was going to forgive him. I would expect nothing less from the group therapist. Let's be real here. Mother's Milk is, without question, the most emotionally mature member of the group. Of course he was going to forgive Frenchie. Before we get on to the final main highlight of this episode, we should probably also talk a bit about certain plot developments. The main scheme that Lamplighter is helping out with and Stormfront is in on is that they are running human experiments on vulnerable, mentally ill individuals that have been institutionalized because Vought is trying to stabilize Compound V to work on adults, because right now it's only consistent in giving powers when injected into infants. Ooh, that's so creepy. I'm a little unclear on the plot continuity surrounding that because we know they've already been making superpowered terrorists. They made it seem like Kimiko did not get injected as an infant. I don't know exactly how old she was supposed to be when she got them. They haven't really elaborated on any of that. I would like to get a clearer picture of the hierarchy of Vought now that we have the larger context of Stormfront's origins and how she was married to the man who founded Vought. If Stan Edgar knows who she really is he the boss of her or is she the boss of him? And does she answer to the bureaucratic infrastructure of Vought? And do we believe that Stormfront is a seasonal big bad that will get off in the season finale like Madeline Stillwell in season 1? Or will she be part of a larger story that is going to continue beyond season 2? I don't have answers to these questions, I'm just thinking out loud. Now that we have almost 2 seasons of material to follow, we can see that there were a lot of things that got introduced in season 1 that did not get elaborated on properly until season 2. So I think that a lot of the things that we are seeing introduced in season 2 are going to be developed further in season 3, or possibly even further than that. I think that the people running the show have gained the confidence to brainstorm pretty far ahead into the show's future. We've got the church, we've got Cindy. Don't forget that Becca is totally pregnant. I called that all the way back in the season 2 premiere, and I feel like a lot of people have forgotten about that. I have not. I still firmly believe that that is coming up. Also, now that Lamplighter seems to be getting set up to play double agent again, but this time he's doing it of his own free will instead of being coerced, I'm intrigued about where that's gonna go. I mostly just want to know if he's gonna survive beyond this season. Anyway, I will close off that tangent and address the final gorgeous storyline of episode 6, Frenchie and Kimiko. My girl really used her mercenary check to accessorize and let everyone know that just because you're a fugitive on the run from a corrupt corporation does not mean you have to be unfashionable while doing so. I think that's a message we can all learn from. Fight the power, but make it fashion. I really like how, despite the writer's best efforts to make us think that Frenchie and Kimiko were going to have some serious relationship woes this season, they could only manage to keep them apart for one episode. You can't fight the power of inevitable soulmates. I said what I said. God, there was so much yearning in this episode. I am always up for some heavy duty yearning. You are only allowed to mess with my emotions if you are fictional. The cinematography and the directing and the acting was all spot on for this episode, particularly between these two, because you've got Tomer acting the crap out of his angsty, self-flagellating Frenchie material, and then you have to cut to Karen, who is fully emoting in this brilliant way to express how Kimiko is finally understanding that Frenchie is experiencing a lot of pain that he has never shared with her or anyone else. But they can read each other very well. They may have had some hiccups in their communication this season, but they've still got the right stuff to make me all weepy. Like when Kimiko was overcome because she could hear that Stormfront was back in the facility, but Frenchie just takes her hand to reassure her, to ground her, to be her rock. We love a man who goes above and beyond to support the love of his life through her horrific trauma and her vengeance quest. Finally, most pleasing to me, Frenchie apologized to her. A man apologizing, being emotionally open and honest with the love of his life, taking accountability for his actions, giving her the space to claim her own agency, and then when he walks off, she is looking at him longingly, more yearning, ladies and gentlefolks. I am deceased. I will never recover. I hope she says something to him in the season 2 finale, because I remember they were foreshadowing her getting her voice back at the end of season 1, so I am waiting. You don't get to plant that seed without having it blossom into something. A couple other things I want to address before I close off this video. It was just recently announced that The Boys is going to be getting a spin-off set in university. I really don't have an opinion on that yet. On premise alone, it's not piquing my curiosity quite as much, but if it's the same creative team behind The Boys and those people feel like they have the inspiration to expand the story within this universe, I am willing to at least check it out whenever it's first released, and then I will decide about whether or not it's something that I think is worth adding to my viewing schedule. Another thing I want to address is my Knives Out video. It's finished. I uploaded one version of it on private, and then there was a portion that set off the bots, the copyright bots, so I had to make some alterations. The first version got blocked worldwide, so nobody could watch it. I tried repeatedly to get this new version uploaded, and it kept crashing. It has been a complete nightmare. If you follow me on Twitter, you are already aware of this. I'm very sorry about all the delays, but I am trying my best. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you have not done so already. My social medias are listed in the description box. You can keep up to date with more of my running commentary on whatever it is that I'm watching if you follow me on those pages. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!